Welcome back to the Library of Awakening. Today, we are continuing our exploration of rare and thought-provoking books with Ancient Sun God by Hilton Hotema. In this work, the author examines ancient traditions surrounding the sun, fire symbolism, the zodiac, and the belief held by many early civilizations that cosmic forces and celestial movements played a profound role in shaping human life and spiritual understanding. As always, here in the Library of Awakening, our goal is simply to read and explore texts and ideas that many people may have never encountered before. These readings do not necessarily represent our personal views. We encourage everyone watching to approach these works with curiosity and critical thinking, and to continue doing your own research so you can come to your own conclusions. If you enjoy these readings and want to help us grow this platform organically, please consider giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to the Library of Awakening. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Ancient Light. Always there is a light in the humblest hut in the Eastern Hemisphere, a light that never fails, either physically or symbolically. To that extent, the Roman Catholic Church has been unable to eradicate all traces of the ancient sun worship of the Masters. Moreover, it adopted that same symbol of solar worship to please its members and to increase their number. A light constantly burns over the altar of the church. A light constantly burns before the Holy Ark in the synagogue. There is a light illuminating the crescent of the mosque. There was a light upon the hearth in ancient days. With the ancient masters, fire worship evolved from sun worship and had its symbolical meaning. It is the oldest of all forms of ancient religion. Fire was venerated as a symbol of the sun, that mighty luminary, from which all things emanate, and to which, said the masters, all things return. Pyra is Greek for fire or light, or the illumination that reveals something, or makes things visible in the dark, as well as giving heat. Midos, in Greek, and means measures. So the word pyramid is combination of the Greek words pyra and midos, and the Greeks adopted them from the Phoenician word pyramida, which means light measures. The pyramid is an ancient symbol that constitutes measured revelations, or revelations through measurements. Christian authors have twisted everything about the Great Pyramid of Gizeh to make it appear as an altar of stone to the church god in the midst of Egypt. In shape, the pyramid represents the ascending flame, flying upward to meet its divine original, a symbol of the eternal spark of life returning to the sun. Whence it came. The pyramid symbolized the mundane fire seeking an ascension to, and an absorption in, the cosmic fire, which animates the living world. Fire is the most perfect and unadulterated reflection of the one flame. It is life and death, the origin and the end of every material thing. Fire is the most ancient symbol of life. It is a symbol of the purity of the cosmic elements. The purifying power of fire is naturally deducted from this symbol of the purity of the element. In the Egyptian mysteries, there was a symbolical purification by fire, as stated in our work, The Mysterious Sphinx. In the Bible appears many references to the sacred fire. God appeared to Moses in a flame of fire. He descended on Mount Sinai in the midst of fire. At the temple, the fire descended from heaven to consume the burnt offering. The fire philosophers espoused the veneration of fire and cultivated the fire secret, not as an idolatrous practice, but modified by their hermetic doctrines. They were also called theosophists, and through them, or in reference to them, the theosophic degrees of Freemasonry came into existence in the 18th century. As fire and light are regarded as synonymous, so the fire, which was to the Zoroastrians the symbol of the sun, is to Freemasons, under the equivalent of light, the symbol of divine truth, or of the Grand Architect. The sacred fire of the Masters was a symbol that concealed one of their deeper secrets. That secret we have revealed in our series of works, listed in the back of the Mysterious Sphinx. Our local sun, with its attendant planets, is moving through space at a speed of 200 miles a second, traveling around the center of its cosmic system. At this speed, it requires 220 million years to make a complete revolution of its gigantic orbit. How many times the Sun has circled its orbit cannot be determined, nor even accurately estimated. According to some authorities, it must have made thousands, and perhaps hundreds of thousands, of complete revolutions. The Earth's diameter is about 7,920 miles, but that of the Sun is over 100 times as great. Mathematicians assert that the Sun's mass is 332,000 times of that of the Earth. The Sun's heat is enormous, and several interesting calculations have been made in an attempt to illustrate it. For example, it has been determined that if the whole of the solar radiation could be concentrated on a solid column of ice nearly 3 miles in diameter, stretching from the Earth to the Sun about 93 million miles, it would melt in 1 second, and the resulting water would be transformed to steam in not more than 8 seconds. The shatterproof reflector, used in certain searchlights on the US Navy's largest battleships, can generate so much heat by concentration of light that if it is placed so as to gather the Sun's rays, a metal nail suspended at a focal point will melt. For many years, the attention of inventors has been directed to the question of utilizing the direct rays of the Sun as a substitute for coal, wood, or other fuel. Large burning glasses, or reflectors being the general form of the various machines. A so-called burning mirror, made in France by Villette, was 4 feet in diameter and produced heat to intense that, according to the report, it melted cast iron in 16 seconds. The press of the 25th of March 1956 reported that, in violence equal to 100 million H-bombs exploding all at once, the Sun suddenly shot a tongue of flaming gas into space. 1 billion tons of the Sun's massive gases were expelled. A huge knot of gas shot away at 700 miles per second, or 2,500,000 miles per hour. All this, some movies showed today, was what happened last February 10, when astronomers reported a remarkable occurrence on the Sun, a record flare rising in fire from the Sun's edge. The movies were taken with a coronagraph, a special instrument kept trained on the Sun, to study flares, at the Air Force Sacramento Peak Observatory in New Mexico. First came a bubble of gas, expanding at 60 miles per second on the eastern edge of the Sunday. It grew steadily more brilliant for 5 to 10 minutes. Then suddenly, a top knot of the bubble sped up to 700 miles per second. This knot, about 20,000 miles in diameter, shot out 200,000 miles before becoming too dim to see. Most of the gas expelled was hydrogen. The ultraviolet light force from the flare played hob with radio transmission for a time by affecting the ionosphere, which usually bounces radio waves back to Earth. The cause of the Sun flares is not fully known. They could be caused by shock waves from tremendous upsurges of gases in the Sun's atmosphere, or due to electrical and magnetic forces near an active sunspot group. Recent discoveries reveal the fact that there is a peculiar magnetism in the air, which the Germans used to operate magnetic mines. Dr. Felix Ehrenhaft of New York read a paper on the subject to the American Physical Society meeting in Columbus, Ohio, and reported in the press of the 17th of June, 1945. Ehrenhaft said, "Sunlight magnetism is equal to about 1/5 of the Earth's magnetic force, which guides compass needles, and was used by the Germans to operate magnetic mines." He showed photographs of iron particles in rapid spiral motion due to magnetism in sunlight. The iron particles, each about the diameter of a wavelength of light, floated in the sunlight. The camera showed that these bits of iron traveled horizontally through the air toward the Sun. Not only iron, but other metals, smoke particles, and all organic particles spiraled in the magnetic force of sunlight. He suggested that the discovery of this secret of the air may explain in part why the Sun has lasted so long without cooling. It is fed by submicroscopic particles from space, riding in on the magnetism in light. The spiraling caused by the magnetism of light could be the basis of the universal whirling motion of everything in creation: Earth, Sun, stars, nebulae, galaxies, atoms, and molecules. Dana Howard, in April 1944 issue of American Astrology, looks to the great ocean of spiritual essence for the power that will regenerate man. He wrote, "Regeneration must be brought about on a universal scale. That is not beyond the pale of possibility. For underlying the depravity of world misery, there is, in the air, a gigantic healing power yet untapped. Our astrological forefathers stumbled upon it intuitively, but it belongs to the coming of the air age to make it a reality. These long-whiskered men of wisdom knew that the planets are in communion with the planetary chemical natures." Howard then discusses planetary and atmospheric chemistry and asserts that modern science has gone to sleep because it fails to study the atmospheric soil, in which is deeply buried the virility of all life. He refers to the mysterious element in the air termed ozone and mentions its effect on the blood and body, stating, "One of the largest ozonating systems to be found is in the Central London Railway. It is recorded that during a severe influenza epidemic, motor drivers who ran through the tubes daily were free of the disorder. In a small way, ozone is being used in hospitals, public schools, and in the sterilization of water systems. But the fact remains that it is still in the embryonic stages of development. The average man has never heard of ozone, except as an element present in the atmosphere after an electric storm, or in connection with the mountains or seashore. More information concerning magnetism, contained in the spiritual essence, appears in reports concerning the mysterious flying saucers. Since the year 1917, reports have appeared from time to time in the daily press regarding these strange objects in the air, concerning which no one seems to know anything definitely. It appears that one Frank Scully has written a book on the subject, short review of which appeared in the year of 1950, October 15th, from which we quote, "Flying saucers have landed on the Earth from some distant planet. They are disc-shaped machines, made of metal, lighter than aluminum, but stronger than steel. They move by magnetic power. Their crews are men, only 3 or 3.5 feet high, who, except for their shortness, look like ordinary human beings. They live on tablets that contain an unknown kind of concentrated food. The saucers are not armed, but they do contain scientific apparatus, including a type of radio unknown on this Earth. There is still hope that Air Force officials may decide that we, the people, are worth taking into their confidence." Flying saucers were first reported the 25th of June, 1947, by Kenneth Arnold. Thousands of such reports have been made since then. Scully reports that a team of scientists made an examination of a saucer-like spaceship that landed near Aztec, New Mexico. Inside it were 16 dead men, ranging from 36 to 42 inches in height. The bodies were normal from every standpoint. The ship was about 100 feet in diameter, with round cabin, 18 feet in diameter, and 72 inches high. There was a panel of push buttons and instruments which the scientists could not understand. The scientists concluded that the ship flew on mysterious lines of magnetic force. They reasoned also that its landing was probably an accident that resulted from some disturbance of the magnetic field in which the craft operated. 3 other ships landed in this country later, Scully says, and all have been studied by Air Force experts. The Air Force has never satisfactorily explained the following incidents. A report by 2 veteran Eastern Airline pilots that they saw flame-shooting spaceship near Montgomery, Alabama, in July 1948. The case of Lieutenant George R. Gorman of the North Dakota National Guard, who said that he chased a spaceship through the skies for 27 minutes, the 1st of October 1948. Or the strange death of Capt. Thomas F. Mantell of the Air Force, who reported during a routine flight, the 7th of January 1948, that he was in pursuit of a spaceship over Ft. Knox, Kai. That was the last heard of him. His body was later found in the wreckage of his plane near Footy Knox. Scully states in his book that a scientist who lectured in the University of Denver told in complex language how a spaceship moving on magnetic power would also be able to demagnetize any object in its path, thus causing its immediate destruction. Chapter 2. The Great Sun. When the writings of the ancient world were destroyed by the founders of the Roman Catholic Church, they kept and concealed that record of astronomical observations which went back into the night of time for more than 500,000 years. That precious record, now carefully concealed in the Vatican Library from the eyes of a deceived world, contains a startling account of the great central sun, termed by the masters as the sun behind the sun, and concerning which modern science knows nothing. The existence of the great sun was known in all ages, but the present, and is known now to occult scientists. We regard our local sun as a huge body, and it is. The great red giant, Antares Alpha Scorpii, is so large that its mass is some hundreds of thousands of times that of our Sunday. It has 4,000 times the candle power of our sun, and is over 450 times its diameter. So huge is Antares that it would require 53.3 minutes for an electric current to travel halfway around it. The brightest star, sun, now known in the universe, is S Doradus, 500,000 times brighter than our Sunday. It is far beyond the Milky Way, in the star family known as the Large Magellanic Cloud. It is visible only in telescopes. The biggest stars all exceed the radius of the planet Jupiter's orbit. That is, if one of these stars replaced our local sun, Jupiter, about 470 million miles from our sun, would be inside the star. There are 8, known of this size, or bigger. The largest has a diameter of 1,700,000,000 miles. These calculations are by Dr. Barlow Shapley, director of the Harvard College Observatory, in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, Influence of the Great Sun. It is said that the beneficent influence flowing from the great sun is such that the solar force radiating into humanity at these propitious periods of time enables the adept to awaken the formant organs, channels, and nerve plexi without his body, which causes his 7 stars, 7 great nerve centers, symbolically termed the 7 eyes of the Lord, which run to and fro through the whole earth, body, Zek, 4:1, to glow ray glorify, as centers of spiritual light, JN, 1-9, 15-5, and to function on a higher plane of consciousness. Man is an epitome of the universe. Each body cell is a replica of the universe. Within each cell there is an intelligent life pont, the sun nucleus of the cell universe, which, like our physical sun, receives light and life from the local sun and also from the sun behind the Sunday. The ancient engineers who designed and built the Great Pyramid of Gizeh had knowledge of the great sun, which the Atlanteans had named Osiris, Sirius, Dog Star. These engineers knew that once a year the great sun is in line with Sirius. For that reason, the pyramid was so built that at the precise moment the light of Sirius, Osiris, fell on the square divine stone, which was placed at the upper end of the Grand Gallery, so that the light shone on the great Hierophant, who received the super-solar force and sought, through his own perfected body, to transmit to the initiates this added invigoration of the evolution of their divinity. This was the secret purpose of the square divine stone, whereon, in the ritual, Osiris sits to bestow upon the illuminate the crown of celestial light and glory. The sun behind the sun, mentioned above, is allegorically referred to in the Bible. It is described as a chariot of fire and horses of fire. Behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and Elijah went up into heaven by a whirlwind. 2 Kings 2-11. According to legend, when the great sun comes into conjunction with our local sun, there occurs a reign of extraordinary awakening and a fusion of light throughout our entire solar system, and it affects more or less everything on the earth. As the superpower of the great sun is transmitted to the earth through our local sun, it is said to send greater power into the power, consciousness of the earth sphere, that a new era of thought and intelligence may be born in the minds of men for the stimulation and guidance of spiritual development. That event is badly needed now, in order to dissipate the reign of materialism with which mankind has been cursed since the dawn of evolutionism, but it will not occur if there is any way in which theology or science can prevent. The birth of evolutionism resulted directly from the fact that intelligent men could not swallow the personal God of the Church and his Son Jesus. Evolutionism is the child of science, which admits almost total ignorance of the constitution of man. Alexis Carrel, one of the great scientists of modern times, declared that our ignorance of man is profound. Most of the questions put to themselves by those who study human beings remain without answer. Man, the Unknown, page 4, chapter 3, Secret of the Stars. Europe and America have little reliable history of the ancient world. That history was destroyed by the Church in the 4th and 5th centuries when it burned the big libraries. Then the Church Fathers wrote their own history of the ancient world, and that is the history contained in encyclopedias. Much of it is false, incorrect, and misleading. That is the reason why we find no correct account of the ancient masters and their wonderful work, and why their 3 great symbols, the zodiac, the sphinx, and the caduceus, receive such scanty and faulty mention. Dictionaries and encyclopedias purposely fail to tell us that the zodiac circle, those mysterious wheels of the Ezekiel 1:15-16, with its 12 points, reveals, explains, and proves the arrangement and composition of the universe and the place of everything in it. The symbolism of the zodiac applied to every kind of force, matter, and element in the universe, from the primordial unit of fire to the supreme intelligence of the cosmos. It shows the composition and position of man in relation to everything above and below, inside and outside. It shows that man is the pivot, the fulcrum, the balance wheel, and the microcosm of the material world. It shows that everything contained in the universe is contained in man. The 12 zodiac marks are the elements of a language that surpasses in accuracy and language of science or religion, and with which the jargon of philosophy cannot be compared. The 12 points for which the names stand are the principles of a science as certain as mathematics, and as startling as the modern discovery of the endocrine system of man's body. The zodiac is the great symbol of the masters through which man can come in contact with ancient wisdom that he has lost, wisdom that has been destroyed by the Church, the despots and tyrants of past ages. The passage of the sun through the 12 signs of the zodiac was the basis of the science of the masters, who studied the trail of man as travelling through the 12 houses of polarities, many mansions, John 1:4-3, or the zodiac, during the days of his earthly existence, and, in each house, experiencing a valuable lesson. In its great circuit, the Earth passes through the range of a constellation represented by a cycle of 2,160 years. During that period of time, the annual birth of the Sun, December 25, occurs in the same zodiac sign. In each grand cycle of 25,868 years, the Earth passes through all the 12 houses, just as the Sun goes through them in 365.26 days. Cicero declared that the Chaldeans had records of the stars for space of 370,000 years. Epigenes, Berosus, and Crithodemes set the duration of astronomical observations by the Babylonians at from 490,000 to 720,000 years. Thorndike. Others assert that still older records were brought to Egypt by Seth, Enoch, Noah, and Shem. Cicero asserted that, over a period of thousands of years, the Chaldeans kept the nativities, horoscopes, of all children, Boru, among them, and from this huge mass of data, calculated the effects on man of the various planets of the zodiac signs. This science of the stars was not developed as a dogmatic belief, nor to support a preconceived theory, but derived its establishment from thousands of years of careful observation by philosophers of the highest order. Ezekiel's wheels. A whirlwind came out of the north, and a great cloud. Behold, one wheel upon the earth, and their appearance and their work was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. For emphasis, the last sentence was repeated. For the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. Ezek 1, 15, 16. Ezekiel's wheels are the zodiac, and they deal with the astrological doctrine of the ascending macrocosmos and the descending microcosmos. The same is true of Jacob's ladder. Ix steps up from Libra to Aries, and 6 steps down on the other side from Aries to Libra. And he dreamed, and beheld a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reaching to heaven, and beheld the angels of God ascending and descending on it. Gen 28-12. The angels symbolize the ascending macrocosmos and the descending microcosmos, the grand cycle of the spirit, the wheel of fortune. Tarot card 11, mentioned in chapter 11 of our work, Cosmic Creation. It precession of the equinoxes. The sun does not arrive at the same moment each year, at the equinoctial point of the equator. The result of this is termed the precession of the equinoxes. This is a retrograde motion in the passage of our local sun as it crosses the ecliptic each year, and means that the sun is constantly changing its position in the zodiac at each vernal equinox. The annual amount of precession is a little over 50 seconds and amounts to 30 degrees, or a sign of the zodiac in 2,160 years, and the particular change we are now experiencing will not occur again for 25,868 years. That is the reason why the masters, thousands of years ago, divided the zodiac circle into 30 degrees. We shall presently see how modern science saves face by concealing this ancient knowledge. It will readily be observed that it required a vast period, time for the masters to check and recheck this data through ages in order to formulate their changes and make their records, showing and describing not only these mysteries of the universe, but also the states and conditions of the earth and its inhabitants, as affected and influenced by the different vibrations of the various celestial bodies symbolized in the zodiac, all of which the dictionary and encyclopedias declare is false, counterfeit, and spurious. When the histories, encyclopedias, and the works of modern science state that the zodiac seems to have originated with the Chaldean astronomers about 2100 VC, the authors of such statements are either lying or are ignorant of the facts and are not competent to write on the subject. As further evidence of the flagrant manner in which reputable publications are distorted to conceal the facts and hide the knowledge of the masters, it is stated in Marvels and Mysteries of Science, published in 1941, that Hipparchus discovered the precession of the equinoxes in 125 BC. We quote, "The Greek astronomer, Hipparchus, who has been called the father of astronomy, in 125 BC, discovered the precession of the equinoxes by comparing the length of the year, determined by dates when certain bright stars could first be seen in the dawn after the sun had passed them in its annual motion, with the length of the year of the seasons, determined with the gnomon. This amazing discovery of a motion of the earth that requires nearly 26,000 years for the completion of one circuit, sometimes called the Great Year, could not be explained at the time, but had to wait 1,800 years for the mind of Newton to explain the physical cause. Lies and falsehoods. The statement that Hipparchus made this amazing discovery is false and made to save face and protect the reputation of science. Also, to boost the mind of Newton, that amazing discovery was made by the masters 500,000 years ago, and the knowledge was lost when Romanism destroyed the ancient records. That concludes today's reading from Ancient Sun God by Hilton Hotema. Books like this offer a glimpse into ideas, philosophies, and interpretations of the cosmos that have circulated throughout different periods of history. Whether you agree with the author's conclusions or simply find the material interesting, exploring these writings can open the door to deeper questions about ancient knowledge, symbolism, and humanity's long fascination with the universe. As always, remember that these readings are not presented as our personal beliefs. The goal of the Library of Awakening is to share and explore texts, while encouraging everyone to continue studying, researching, and forming their own understanding. If you enjoyed this reading and would like to see more books like this in the future, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the Library of Awakening. Your support truly helps this project continue to grow. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep awakening.
Welcome to the journey. May this space inspire you to ask questions, explore the unknown, and most importantly, to awaken. This is the Library of Awakening. I know some of the perspectives that I share may be as challenging for you as they once were for me. But isn't that the beauty of exploration? Every perspective, no matter how unconventional, has something valuable to contribute to it if it's shared. Knowledge is not absolute. It's a living, breathing phenomena, shaped and reshaped over time. The important thing is not always be right, but to always be curious. Explore freely, share boldly, and learn deeply. And don't rely solely on others to validate your discoveries. Stand firm in integrity, even in the face of criticism. Remember that growth always means embracing the humility to admit when we're wrong. Learning from our errors is not a setback, it's the very essence of our progress. So, welcome to the journey. May this space inspire you to ask questions, explore the unknown, and most importantly, to awaken. This is the Library of Awakening.